Hi and welcome to Intrepid Wisdom. My name is Deborah J and I'm really excited because today we have Blossom Goodchild. Blossom is a direct voice channeling medium who has been sharing messages of unconditional love by means of readings, group events and her world-renowned YouTube videos where she has over 11,000 subscribers. Blossom is also renowned for her communication with both White Cloud, a Native American Indian spirit, and the Federation of Light, who she assists in delivering their messages to as many souls as possible around the world to raise its vibrations. So you're so welcome, Blossom. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm really, really well.
Good. So I thought what we would do is maybe take people back into your whole journey to where you are today and what you've been doing, and how did you come to channeling? How did you come to meet White Cloud and the Federation of Light? And maybe just give us a little bit of background about who you are.
Yeah, sure. Well, I am Blossom Goodchild. I was brought up as a very strong Catholic. Well, I wasn't a strong Catholic, but my father was. And so I went to a boarding school convent, which was a whole different thing within itself. And all my desire was, all my life really, was my parents were in the theatre, and all I ever wanted since I could walk was to be in the theatre. That was my passion. So I went to drama school and studied musical theatre there. And truly, I can't say I was into any sort of form of spiritualism or knowing what it was, for a long time, really. And certainly never knew that I was going to be doing. People say I'm psychic, I should have seen it coming. But I didn't. And it was just so my thing was the theatre was my life type of thing, really. And then what happened to me was when I was about 17, when I first went to drama school, I started having these episodes, would we say, which I used to call them conk-outs or fits or whatever. And I had those for 17 years, and nobody could find out what they were. And whereupon they changed in the way they were, but I'd sort of fall on the floor, and I'd hyperventilate sometimes. But in general, after a while, I'd just lie there, and although I could hear everybody saying, "Blossom, are you all right?" and apparently I'd go grey, like I was on my way out. And but I could hear everybody, and they'd say, "Could you move your finger to let us know you can hear?" I couldn't, although I could hear. And I've often thought, was I out of my body at the time? But I don't feel I was. But I was certainly very comfortable where I was. I wasn't in. And then when I eventually came round, it took me a little while to get my speech things, and I could be there on the floor for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And these attacks would happen maybe sometimes 4 times a day, sometimes twice a day, for a period of time, say maybe 5 or 6 weeks or something, and then, or not that long, it depends. And then suddenly, literally, Deborah, within a blink of an eye, I was back to normal. When I was in that state, if I went to cross the road, it was just like I wasn't on the planet, I used to say. I just didn't feel quite in. And anyway, my father took me to see psychiatrists in Harley Street. He was Irish, actually. He went, "Do you have problems with your sex life, Blossom?" Sex life at the time, but it was like, so people just couldn't suss out what it was that was making this happen to me. I had brain scans. I was, put on epilepsy pills, which I nearly committed suicide. They depressed me so much, and we just didn't know. So, but then in between that, I could have 3-4 months of nothing. I'd be absolutely fine. And then suddenly I just get this change, and I think, oh no, here we go. And so, had to put up with it, really. And then it was very interesting. And within that time, I'd started getting interested in spiritualism. I found a book called Silver Birch in a charity shop, the teachings of Silver Birch or something. And then I found some really old tapes of the woman. It's like in the 1930s when they go, and here is Silver Birch to talk to you now. You know, it was just
Love it.
lovely. Indian would come through, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I got very interested in that, but didn't really know anybody else that was. Anyway, long story short, down the line, I came across a lady came into my life that was very good, very what's a word, highly advanced, I would say, clairvoyant. And what had happened during my time of being interested in spiritualism, I'd read lots of books and things like that. And now and then I did a bit of healing, and I mean once a year type of thing or whatever. And I was thinking, oh, if I can't make it as an actress, wouldn't it be amazing if I could be a healer? Not knowing everybody could be a healer, you know, at the time. And so I did the odd bit of healing, and I got a feeling now and then of this Native American gentleman standing behind me. And at one point I asked his name, and without any question, I got White Cloud. And I was like, oh, okay. And it carried on doing my very intermittent healing. And then I was having a set of my fits at the time, and they were very debilitating. You know, you couldn't really go out and socialize or anything when they were going on. And I wasn't feeling good at all. And this lady was staying with us, this clairvoyant, and she said, look, Blossom, I've got this Indian here with me, and he's asking if you would get a pen and paper because he'd like to speak to you. And because of all my sort of intrigue and all that, I wasn't like, what? I was, you know, I was like, oh, okay. And so I got this book, and I started writing saying, I believe, you know, that you wanted me to contact you. And straight away, the contact was made. And just, it was telepathic to start with White Cloud. And he just said, we had agreed to do this many, many moons ago. And if I was still up for it, would I allow him to speak through me? And because of hearing Silver Birch, you know, way back in those times, it was like, oh my God, how weird that this is, you know, maybe that was my preparation. I really don't know. And so he named the people he would like to be at a meeting and to arrange it at my time. And I'd been to a few meditation classes, and, you know, I certainly was into that kind of thing. And so I had these 12 people there, and I just, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen really. And may I just say that after that communication, that first communication with him, which was about 3 or 4 pages long, I just wrote and wrote and wrote. That was it. I never had a fit again in my life. Wow. That was 21 years ago. They just went away from there. And, you know, we've asked him about it since. And, you know, he was saying that I was being rewired type of thing. When I'd conk out, I was sort of being rewired, and my energy and everything changing in order for me to do this, and to also, because I am blessed to bring other guides or beings through as well. And so I guess they were just sorting my body out for that. So that was a good thing that they went away. And I had the meeting, and I literally took a deep breath, and I knew I could hear the word welcome in my head. And so I just thought, well, go for it. So out came this voice. But like what people hear on my YouTubes now, 21 years later, is very, very different from what it was like back then. He spoke, you know, his voice was about an octave lower than now, and about 50 times slower I mean, you had to have so much patience, because when he spoke, it was so slow, and he couldn't open my eyes or move or anything. It was just this voice. And you know, I'm 62 now, Deborah, so I have quite a lot of lines on my face. But when he first came through, my face literally turned into this, and I was 20 years younger, you know, into this old Indian chap. And so and out he came with this these words of wisdom. And you know, we all had a cup of tea afterwards, and they went home, and I sat on the sofa with my husband and watched TV. And I was like, there we go then. That's that. It seemed the most normal thing to do, really. You know, so that's how that began. And obviously over the years, you know, these 21 years, you don't have a teacher to say, well, look, this is how you do this. It's just been with the right side of my head where White Cloud comes in, and the left side where I am, and we meet in the middle. And obviously over the years, everything, our you know, our vibration has met a lot more. I've become more accustomed to it. And whereas before that I could, you know, I'd have to sit down and huff and puff, you know, and huff and puff and all this kind of stuff till he was ready to come in. Now it's, you know, it's in the last couple of years, he can just do it like that. We can, you know, have a conversation back and forth. So it's, and he opens his eyes, he makes people laugh, you know, he's just he can walk around, he can do so much more now that we're accustomed to it. So it's been a really, really interesting journey.
Wow, absolutely. I've always been very intrigued to know what goes on. And it's actually a really lovely way of putting it, exactly what goes on at the time. Like, and I do think it is something that's probably, it probably does come in very naturally, but it's like, you have your own personality, he has his own personality. And I will say, when I've watched you doing your videos, you can see there's a character change, but it's a whole energetic character change. It's quite bizarre, really, to see, and it's so subtle, but it's very interesting to see. So that's a lovely description of, it's kind of like VIP backstage pass into the world of channeling. It's great. And then in terms of the Federation of Light, how did that come about? And you know, how do they work together or separately? Or
yeah, well, I'd been working with White Cloud for about 5 or 6 years, and I went to see a lady for a reading, which I don't do anymore, but I, you know, now and then we all would like a little bit of, you know, what's going on, a bit of hope. And people say, well, couldn't you do it with White Cloud? But it's not the same. You don't, you know. So I went to see this lady, and she said, oh, you're going to be writing another book. And I'd written 3 books for White Cloud, because when I first brought White Cloud through, he said to record them all so that they would go down in a book to record all the meetings. I'm like, yeah, right, I'm just not that kind of intellectual person or whatever. But lo and behold, 3 books down the track, there was White Cloud's 3 books. And this lady said, but you're going to be writing another book, but this is with someone else. And it's not going to be in the way you're used to. They're asking you to sit down at the computer every day for half an hour, and they will contact you. So I was like, oh, you know, okay. So the next day, it was my birthday. And so I started going, well, here I am, not knowing. And I feel the beginning bit of that book, The Bridge, is the, I would say, the I am presence, perhaps. And somewhere along the line, which I can't really find, they turned into the Federation of Light. It became then that was speaking. And to be honest, Deborah, at the time, I hadn't really gone into Federation of Light. I didn't really know they existed, really, or the Galactic Federation, all that kind of thing. So it was quite new to me, really. And so I sat every day for a year. And sometimes, one time they weren't there for nearly 2 months. I was like, guys, you know, guys, you're sitting here for half an hour every morning. Where art thou? Type of thing, you know. And anyway, so that book came through, and from then on, that's sort of how it happened with them. And so it's all telepathic. I don't, that's why I question when, you know, when people say to me, oh, you're so authentic, Blossom, and we love the way you ask them questions, because that's the questions we would ask them. And it's purely because I'm, you know, I am just questioning, because it's not like I've got this light being standing in front of me, as I always say, saying, take this down, Blossom. And you know, I'm going, oh, yeah, sorry, what was that? It purely is mind to mind. So it's, uh, you know, for me, people say in a nice way that I'm so irreverent. You know, that I'm
You're
not.
very irreverent, but I love it. I just love it. Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I can't sort of do this, oh, you're so holier than thou, because it's only my mind. It's only a thought in my head. It's, you know, and I definitely at times, when they're coming through, I get this overwhelming love feeling. And, you know, I often say, oh, suddenly crying or whatever, because of the love that they bring through. And you know, so over the years, that's just expanded. The whole thing's expanded. And you know, here I am finding myself in the situation that I'm in, you know, and no one is more blown away than me, Deborah, about it, because I'm like, what? People, thousands of people read my mind, that I'm having this conversation with these people, and they believe that it's, you know, the Federation of Light. And it's not that I don't believe it. It's like everybody else, we have no proof. The only proof is in your heart, you know. That's the only thing that makes me know that this is for real, because of the love. And if you take everything else away and you're just left with love and what they have to say, the love and the way they have taught me and many, many, many to be on the planet, you know, how to remember who we are, and just be a, you know, to be honest, be a nice person. You know, it's not that hard, really. And through their teachings and White Cloud's passion and compassion, I've certainly completely changed my life, I suppose, you know, because of their teaching. So I feel very blessed and very honored in a sense to you know, to do so.
It's interesting as well what you're saying, because I think for anybody who, to start again, I think we're living in a world where everything is external to us. We're asking for answers outside of ourselves constantly. I've done this where I've literally searched the world for answers. And, you know, it's really frustrating when you get a guru who goes, the answers are inside yourself. And I'm like, I don't have a key. Where is the lock? I don't know how to get in. What are you talking about? And it can be really frustrating, really, really frustrating. But it's true. The answers really are inside. And what I've discovered recently is, you've got the mainstream media, who we now are understanding is it's just so much lies. And then you've got the alternative side, which has its own traps to fall into as well. And I think what I've learned is there's a middle ground that you need to come back to. And that middle ground is yourself. So when nothing else is true in the world, and I think that this is going to happen for a lot of people over the next while, as more and more people kind of start to wake up and open their eyes and start to hear more and learn more. I feel that everybody has to go through that, oh, is this true? Is this true? And then kind of come back to themselves and come back to their own center. And I just love the idea of the fact that you have this channeling coming through your mind. It's your own mind talking to yourself, but that you know that it's coming from them, it's coming from a different place, but you just have to trust yourself, because you know that it's true. And I think we've all, not all, I think a lot of us have lost that connection to ourselves, and so we probably would doubt ourselves if we hear it. It's like your normal intuition. How often do we listen to our intuition? So I love that point, and I just think it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think, Deborah, as well, like you know, just in my everyday life, I can, you know, especially in these times, I can watch a particular video somebody sent to me, or, you know, hear this and hear that. And, you know, I think people wrongly assume that I'm going to know immediately, whether that's lies or truth, or, and I'm going to get all these answers. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm the same as everybody else. I literally am like, oh, well, I don't know what to make of that one, or what a load of rubbish that is, or that really resonated with me. And truly, I think in these times, it's so bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I don't think any of us we were waiting and waiting for this amazing time, and far out it's like, and this is just the beginning. So we're told this is just the beginning. So it's really interesting, our own journeys. But I think about this quite a bit, that at the end of the day, if we choose to hang on to this love that we know, and we do the best we can to spread that light, which during this time isn't always that easy, but by spreading that light, if you're in lockdown, which isn't easy or whatever, I just mean by trying to keep your vibration as high as possible. That's all we can do at the moment. So watch a funny movie, laugh a lot. People don't laugh enough. They truly do not laugh enough. Some people, I'll say a joke sometimes, and it's like people are like, and I'm like, oh dear, that didn't go down very well. And I'm like, how awful it must be to live in a world where you just don't find laughing easy, because I find laughing really, really easy to do. And, as White Cloud said, the pockets of laughter upon the planet can be picked up so easily because of the vibration that it gives out. And whatever is destined for us down the track, should we have this all wrong and we're all going to become robots or whatever, let's go down that road laughing, shall we? I don't believe that's going to happen. I truly don't. For me, I feel this time is, why not now? They talk about this time that's becoming forever and ever and ever, and it looks like we're in this change over and we're moving up. So it's like we've waited for it. As far as we know, we were chosen, the strongest of the strong. We came down here to do it. So as best we can on our good days, let's get on and just be when I say be joyous, I mean it really, because have a laugh, because I really feel that when this all comes out, all this truth comes out, which as far as a lot of us, can make out who jump down some rabbit holes, it's going to be pretty horrendous for people who have no idea at all. I mean, it's bad enough for those of us that have an idea. It's horrendous. So for those who do not know, that's, I believe, why we are here, the people that are awake and aware. And it's said that we will it's like as if we're going to have an envelope. Each one of us have got an envelope, and when the time comes, the envelope will open, and each soul will know exactly their role. Because I get so many emails saying, I don't know my purpose, Blossom. I know, I'm waiting, and I don't feel I'm being of service. And it's like, I think, have a cup of tea, because it's coming. And they say we will be so full on when all this comes out, in ways of assisting people who are so lost and so afraid. And before, I used to think, oh well, that would be quite easy, just that'll be all right. This is before this year. I thought all we do is just talk to them about the light and love, and no worries, now you're awake, come along with me over the bridge, all will be tickety-boo. But now I've realized the difference with this divide that is going on with people, which I think so many of us, I am finding quite daunting, because there's an obvious divide of those that think one way and those that think another. So I would imagine that when all these truths come out, there will still be this divide going on, even though it's right in your face. There will still be people that are like, I can't go along with this. So I think as a light worker, a light player, we just again have to follow our heart. And but I do feel that when the truth comes out, we, as knowing what we know, have got more backup. You know, we've got more to go on to say, well, look, hold on, have you not just, you know, seen this or heard this, and it's obvious, it's truth, we presume, you know. So I think we will be so in position when this happens, and so fulfilled, they say, which seems a bit odd at this time, but we, you know, we will be fulfilled and satisfied because we are doing so much of what we came down here to do, which is to help the planet and the people on it and those in it, if there are, you know, raise the vibration up and into this new time. And you know, when you look at it like that, Deborah, how exciting is that, really? You know, it's so amazing.
I've been quite like you, and which is why it's been a bit of a relief to hear your videos, because I've been quite like you. On one minute I'm like, okay, I'm all calm, I'm all zen, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go look. The thing is, we don't know what's happening one way or the other, whether it's mainstream or alternative. Nobody can definitively stand in front of either of us now and go, well, this is 100% true. And this is, so my truth has been, all I know is I'm here in my body having this experience at this moment, and it's the only thing I know, and it's the only thing that's going to keep me sane when I'm going insane from all the stuff that's true, not true, true, not true. But I do feel that that's part of that journey, but I also feel that this divide that's happening, it's ultimately, when I'm not having my own meltdown, I do think that it is a good thing, because we needed to wake up. People needed to wake up. And we won't wake up if everything is just kind of ticking along on autopilot. We need to come out of that autopilot to know, you know, to take more control of our own journey. So I do think that this has been part of the process. And look, a baby is born, and I'm sure it's not a pleasant experience coming down the birth canal for the mother or the baby. And it's a bit like a birthing experience I think we're having at the moment. I do wonder at times to what extent we're going to wake up, because I feel like I've done a lot of research and I'm like, what more do I need to learn? And then I'm like, oh God, that's not even the same question to ask. So yeah, I totally resonate with where you're coming from on this as well. And I too feel you can feel, whether you're into energy or not, you can feel there's something going on. You can feel it in the air. It's crazy. I keep saying to my mom, I'm going to be killed for saying this now. I keep saying, I'm like, there's something going to happen around the 13th to the 16th of September. I just feel it, and I don't know what it is, but I could be just making it up in my head. But anyway, but there's so much downloads going on.
Yeah, and I just think it's getting closer. You know, you know, I could say that for the last 20 years, it's getting closer as it is. But I could say that in 100 years. But it's more to do, I think, now with those who are awake and aware. Also, not just about finding out information, which we do not know. As you say, there's no proof yet what is right, you know, what is true and what is not. But that does, I think, as you say, make you become stronger in your own truth of you know, what it's all about. And you know, when I think, when now, you know, as I say, I was brought up, you know, at this Catholic school, and that's what my father knew was, you know, God, angels, heaven, la di da di da, you know, devil, bad, da da da, and that's what you do. You live life in between, and off you pop to heaven if you've been good, and there you go to hell if you've been bad, type of thing, you know. And I was like, oh, that's nice and easy. And then when you grow up and you wake up, the more you find out, the more you're like, are you sure? You know, what, how, I don't quite, for people, sometimes I think, is it easier to go through your life not knowing any of this? just like, well, I'll go to church on Sunday, thank you. And then hopefully I'll die when it's my time and I'll go to heaven and that's all good. Is it easier to do that? Or because once you've gone down this path, there is no turning back. And the more you find out, the more your mind is blown. Blown apart with what this world is actually all about and what's going on and this, that, and the other. And like, as we say, Deborah, at the end of the day, when all that is going on and all this is going on in our world and all the lies and everything, the Federation, which you might be aware, and lots of people who follow the Federation and White Cloud are using it daily, which I'm so thrilled to hear, all the time, of this thing of just, when everything gets too much, just stopping, taking in a breath. I know you're going to know what I'm going to say. And you just say, I am the light, I am the love, I am the truth. I am. And you just say it and say it 5 or 6 times. If you're waiting in a queue, just say it in your mind and without fail for me, every time. That just takes me away from all that and it centers me into, yes, that actually is who I am. Although, like you say, when you say go within, I'm like, within where? Do you want me to go within my gut, within my heart, within my mind? Where am I trying to look within? And I know it's not in any of my body parts within. It is just this breath, really, I feel, is within. And to know that in truth, for me and for those who feel that as a truth, that I am the light and I am the love and I am the truth. I am. And at the end of the day, I just think, just stick with that. Stick with that, because what else is there to turn to be honest? I don't know what else brings me back to that. And, when White Cloud, speaks in, and his encouragement and his passion that he's giving out to people on the YouTube and saying, I encourage you, this is why you came, da, 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 da. It's like that for me makes me know it will be all right. And the thing is, Deborah, if it's not, tough, oh well, but I'd rather go down this path and be wrong.
Do you know what? I completely agree. And I've questioned that myself on so many occasions as well, because you do question it. You're like, oh God, I had a total spiritual wobble myself a couple of weeks ago, where I was on this path for years. And then all of a sudden I watched one YouTube video with a woman. She was a Christian minister and she was talking about conspiracy theories. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I wouldn't have put these two together. So I watched it. By the end of it, I was like, oh my God, maybe I've got it all wrong. And so I had a spiritual wobble for about 2 or 3 days where I was like praying to God going, I'm really sorry. I might have picked this up the wrong way. And yeah, I totally fell off my chair. And then I kind of came back to myself and found myself the same way I found myself the first time, which was, if God is who we think he is, and he is us and we are him, then, and God is a parent and we are his children, if you want to look at it that way. And I'm not a big God person, universe, source, whatever you want to put on it. But, he's not a smithing person who wants to stand on you and squash you for believing one religion. Does that mean all the other religions are wrong? So that's what brought me back. I was like, no, we can't be living on a planet where loads of people are wrong and loads of people are right. It doesn't work like that,
It is. It's I've gone to, I hear people, who've been very well known for their spiritual awareness and teaching and that, and then suddenly out of the blue, they'll come out and say, actually, I've got it all wrong. I've turned to Jesus, and you're like, oh my. But people, I get many emails from people over the years saying, calling me a devil worshipper and all sorts of things, and turn to God, Blossom, turn to Jesus, he will forgive you, and all that. And I find that quite arrogant, that they assume that I am not into God or Jesus energy or whatever it might be. They don't know what my truths are.
Very true.
And I remember my father, because when, because he went to church every day of his life and, said his rosary twice a day, it was full on. So for me to do what I do, it's a bit difficult to sort of broach the subject, to say, and anyway, when I was moving over to Australia, I sat him down and I said, Dad, I really need to talk to you. And I told him the whole white cloud thing. And at the end of it, and he was quite surprised in many, many ways. And because for him, that's blasphemy. It's devil, you don't do that kind of, you don't have a dead Native American Indian come and speak through you Tuesday morning or whatever. But at the end of the day, he said, what I want to know, Blossom, is who you pray to. And I said, I don't pray to white clouds, Dad. I pray to the all, the God, the love, which relieved him greatly. Because the thing is, I guess for me, it doesn't matter what religion. I'm not like many these days. I'm not into religion as such. But if what you do feels right for you, and you are an understanding, loving, giving person, and it works for you, then go down that path. There's so many pathways to get where we're going. If it feels uncomfortable, find another path, take another bus, as White Cloud says. It's just literally get on that bus, or that bus. They all take you on a different route, but they all take you to the same place. I just find that there are too many organized religions that are, as you say, so indoctrinated. And by the end of that, you don't think for yourself in the end. And at the end of the day, when my father was dying, he came out to Australia. We got him out here, and he had 3 months to live. And but he lived for 13 because we were out here, and it's beautiful where we live in Australia. And we had the most amazing time with him. But I know he was meant to spend that time with us to break some of his indoctrinations, which he did. He was like, for him, White Cloud was like, no. At the same time, towards the end, he was like, well, White Cloud said, didn't he, such and such, and and he questioned so many things about the Catholic religion, and I just find that, that was amazing for him to be able to wake up in that way, because he was scared of dying because of what God might blame him for, of things he'd done in his life. And we needed to have a chat about that, me and my dad. It was like, Dad, it's just not like that type of thing, So each to their own. I truly feel each to their own path, but I also think, in service to the whole, really.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think in terms of even the label religion, for me, I just find the word is very conformist, and it's not about, as you say, it's just about love. It's about making sure that you're being the best person that you can be, that you're being the best person to other people that you can be, that you're honoring yourself, respecting others and honoring others, and just operating from your heart and from love. And if you're doing good things every day and you're just being a good person, then look, it doesn't really matter what you believe, because ultimately you've led the best life you can. If you're not going to do that, then maybe you need to be trying to figure out what religion you're believing, because you're not doing the right thing, but yeah, that's
it, Deborah, and especially in these times, we're all learning that little lesson about allowing everybody to think what they want to think about everything. That is their right to do so. And just because their way of looking at something is very different from yours, that isn't your business, really. And other people say, but isn't it our business to try and wake others up and things? Well, at this time, I think, no, actually not at the moment. If it comes out and you're on a winner with somebody and they want to know more, then that's fine. But in general, I think at the moment, and I feel a bit as if the Federation are saying this as well, a bit like, just keep stum for a bit, because the truth will come out, and then go to work, type of thing, because there will, from what I gather, there will be the evidence, so that we're not going, well, is that true, isn't it? Apparently we will know. How that's all going to work out, I don't know.
It's a bit like sleepwalking, you know, you're not supposed to wake somebody up in the middle of a sleepwalk. And I kind of feel like at the moment, especially with everything that's happened over the last couple of months, I found myself at the very beginning being like, should I be sharing this? Should I be saying it to somebody? Should I be talking to even, you know, parts of my own family? If I've spoken to them like this, to be like, what are you even talking about? But part of me is like, I'm not going to say a whole lot, because eventually they'll understand, and eventually, and it's not about going, I was right. It's not about that at all. It's just about being there to support. And when the time is right and people start to ask questions, hopefully they know that you know enough that they can ask you questions, rather than forcing it down their throat.
I think as well, Deborah, that it's like, you know, there is that thing that close friends or family might say to you, well, why didn't you tell me before? You know, why didn't you say anything? And you're just going to have to go, because you weren't ready to listen. You know, it's just, there's so many people not ready yet to, as far as I know, you know, this is the thing, we didn't know this was going to play out like this. So, and we don't know what's going to play out in phase 2, or, you know, or whatever. We just literally have to go along with it and follow our hearts, really.
Can I ask you, in regards to the Federation of Light, are you writing that and then recording it as verbal? I think, is it is it Joe Pina?
Yeah. It's a fantastic little story, that, because I always write with the Federation. That's how they have spoken through me a few times, which are in a little video, just an audio on my website. And I don't know, I don't do that very often. I feel a bit funny doing that. I don't know why, it just feels a bit, they just sound funny. Anyway, they're very well spoken, and I don't know, just as a bit, it doesn't happen very often. So I tune in, I go, hi guys, how are you today? Anybody there? And instantly the communication comes. So I type it so fast, you know, I just have this thing for an hour. It always seems to be exactly an hour. And I look and I go, oh, there we go, there's the hour. And then of course I have to go back and do all the typos and all that kind of thing. So it takes a good few hours to actually get it up. So I do that, and then and then I had this gentleman years ago, I think it's about 7 years ago now, Joe, who wrote to me I'd done an interview, a podcast thing with him, and anyway, he wrote to say that he'd started reading out to himself and recording the channelings and listening to them when he went to bed. So I said, oh, I'd love to hear one of those. So he sent it to me. So I said, oh, you know, would you be happy to put those up? And he said, yeah, you know, he would. So he did that. And then I got people saying, why don't you read your part, instead of him saying, Blossom said, and I thought, yeah, why don't I? So we arranged that I then, once I've done the channeling, I read my part out, which doesn't always come out the way it sounds when I'm just writing. You know, it's quite interesting. But so I do that, and I record it, and I send it to Joe. I'm in Australia, he's in Canada. He's recorded his part, and bless him, he puts the two together so that they then come out as they do, which is just because lots of people prefer to hear the audio of it rather than read the channelings. I think a lot of people don't actually know the channeling is actually written and it's on my website first. I think they just think this is how it, I think there was a comment on this last one, somebody said, this sounds a bit like you're reading it. I was like, yes, that's because we are, you know, it's
I had wondered, I actually wasn't sure either. I had wondered, and I knew, it was just one of the days, and I was like, I think she's writing that. So that's why I was asking, because it sounded like it was. But I love it.
Yeah, and Joe, you know, I just think what an amazing job he is doing. The voice, and it's developed for both of us over the years. I don't, it's obviously, I say you are obviously, you agreed to be on the team before you came, type of thing. This is part of the expansion. Because I'm so blessed, Deborah. I think it's 9 different languages they get translated into now. All these people, they do all this from their heart, and I've got this amazing backup team out of nowhere. And for me, I think they obviously agreed before we came that this is going to be how it works, because all these people do it from their heart. And I think Joe, is his voice and the way he delivers what they have to say. I think it couldn't be more perfect, really. I don't feel it would work with anybody else anymore.
No.
Because often now when I'm typing, I haven't told Joe this, I must tell you, often when I'm typing, it's as if I'm hearing Joe's voice, as if they're saying it, type of thing, So it's just lovely. And I've done, a sort of question and answer thing with him on a video lately, and one other thing. So to be able to see him, because I didn't really sort of, it was just just lovely. And so, to all the translator teams, and so many people put the channelings up on so many websites and things. It's just amazing. I feel very, very blessed, really, to have all that support.
Isn't it just beautiful when you're doing what's meant for you? It just falls into place. And recently I've had a big thing about my life purpose. I'm like, what is my life purpose? So what you're saying about this envelope and, we're all going to figure it out. I'm like, oh my God, do you know how much of a relief that is to know? But I do also believe that when you're in flow, when you're doing what feels right for your body, when you're not trying to control your future, when you're not trying to control the outcome or have expectations, when you just go with the flow, which is very much easier said than done, things do seem to fall into place. And it's so hard to trust sometimes, because you're trusting, it's like kind of going on those monkey bars, and you're grabbing one bar and the next one is invisible, and you just have to put your hand out and hope that it's there. And I find for myself, my intuition is very like that. It's very like you just have to go with it and hope that what you're doing is right, and then take the next step and the next step.
I know, and trust, that trust word is huge, and it's been the hugest word for me over the last 20 years of trusting. Because God, the things, if I've put something up, or the Federation have said something about a particular photo that's been shown, or something, or something, and then somebody will write in and go, that's photoshopped, and and I'm like, even now, I'm so much better now, but there's been so many times when I've just thought, I don't think I can do this anymore, because of the pressure of whether you're bringing through truth to thousands of people, is huge, really. And then now it's the same thing at the end of the day. And I said this recently on a chat thing, if at the end of the day I got all this wrong, then as we're saying, so what? At least I enjoyed what I was doing. I was coming from my truth, and it seems that the words that have come through have helped many people. So if it's all wrong, so what? If you see what I mean, you just have to, if it feels right, then trust it, and if it doesn't feel right, then push it away. But you still have that in between of, I don't know whether it's right or not, and I get that still a lot, because we are in this human condition. I think we're so much is programmed in us, and it's like we're programmed to be depressed and stay down and all this. So when we break free of all that, it feels so unusual to be like, oh, I feel really quite happy today. It feels so few and far between, but really I think that is our normal state. That is how we should be feeling and everything. So I think we're going to get there. I really feel that we are going to get there. And if we don't, we've had a good time trying. That I really, the way things are. But when I say that, I sound like I'm not sure. But there is so much in me that just knows, I really, it's all going to be all right. I really, really feel that it is all going to be more than all right. We've just came here to do this dodgy bit. We're doing it, and we'll come out the other side, and we'll be like, everything will have changed, for the better.
And that's why I think, I know you're saying that you've found it hard at times to know whether you should go on, and the weight of like, there has to be a huge weight of, it's fine if there's like 2 people listening, but if there's thousands of people listening, it's like, okay, is this just my mind? Is this so I can totally appreciate that. But I will say, what I love about you, and for anybody who hasn't watched Blossom, which I hope everybody's watched you, but if you haven't, you need to check out her YouTube channel, Blossom Goodchild, because what I love about what you're doing is just, you've said it already, your authenticity. And there's a lot of people out there channeling, and whilst many of them are very good, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work at the moment, there are also some that maybe take a slight God complex by it, and they're the ones we have to learn to discern with, and learn to filter out what's right and what's wrong for us, and what do we feel is right and wrong. There might be some people who listen to you and other people and go, that's not right for me. And then that's okay. That's just not right for you. And then you move on to somebody that is right for you, or the message feels right for you. But it is a big responsibility that you have. But I would love you to know from my side, and I hope I speak for thousands of people who are saying, you're doing an incredible job, and your humanness is actually probably what inspires me to listen to you most. I see your YouTube come up and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch that. But it's lovely because it's just your humanness, and your humanness then resonates with us. And so I think that's probably what makes you more real and more tangible, and stops the whole pedestal thing from happening too much as well, which has been really lovely.
There's a lot of that. It's yeah, I think, as you say, people, there's so many channelers now. And, somebody will send me a link saying, have you seen this? And I'll click on it, and I don't know who that person is. And not that it matters from any point of view, but they might have had like 400,000 views or something. And I think, who are they? I don't, there's so many people now. There's so many people that everybody else knows. And I think, I don't know who they are, whatever. As you say, what is important is that it resonates with you. And I think there is an issue in quite a lot of channelings, whereas in a few matters, people are coming from a different level, and it's not all, it's their ego coming through, or things they've heard that they've mixed up within themselves, or as well with written channeled messages or whatever it may be, they may feel that they're channeling the truth, and they're saying truth mixed with untruth to confuse, which is the darker side, perhaps, and infiltrating and allowing that to happen. And so therefore that's where people get confused, because they think, well, I know that's truth, that bit, but they said this bit. Well, it's just, my thoughts are that, because when I'm channeling, it's happened to me quite a few times over the years, that I can be like a few sentences in with the Federation, and suddenly they're just a sentence is coming through, and I go, what? And there's just one word or something, and I go, no. And I just abort it completely because I know that it's not them. The energy's wrong, or they just wouldn't use that word. And I mean, they often use words that I know, and I not quite sure what they mean. So I have to go, right, I'll put a little tick by it, and then when it's finished, I have to Google it and go, oh, thank God, that fits in with that sentence perfectly. Couldn't have said it better myself, but it's just like, because I'm not really sure what it means, and so that's how I know it's not me, because I think I would never use that word in my everyday life, whereas they use these words, so that's for me. But yeah, with other people, I think you just have to be, as White Cloud always says, if it doesn't feel right for you, if what White Cloud says doesn't resonate, then go and find somebody that your heart resonates with. You don't have to take his truth as your truth if it isn't feeling right for you. There's sometimes things that White Cloud said, and afterwards I thought, I'm not so sure about that myself. So he might say something that I think, oh, I don't know about that one for me, but I don't go, people think I must sort of chat with him all day long because I can, but I don't, hardly at all do, because I suppose because I am just like everybody else, I'm just human. And every now and then I might be driving in the car and think, oh, I haven't had a chat with you for a while. How are you doing? And because there's nobody around, we'll have an out loud conversation between me and him, just very briefly, just to see how things are really.
And have you ever tried to channel other people, or has there been other people who've tried to channel in through you? Or
yeah, I don't try. I don't mean that rudely. I don't try to channel, but I've it's often been that other guides, when I used to do readings for people, their guides would come through, or different. Yeah, I've had different beings. I've had one set of White Cloud meeting I was doing out and about. I had what are they called? They're like, what do they call stick insects? What are they called? Praying mantis type things.
Yeah.
I know this sounds ridiculous, but as they were coming through, and there's these people there, and I thought, oh my God, I felt the image of like this praying mantis type thing, and I'm like, oh please, please don't do this to me. And yet they spoke, but they were obviously. They said they were beings from some other planet, and they were sort of working to make that planet habitable. And this was their job, and this and the other. And at the end of the day, afterwards when I spoke, I went, because they said something about them not being a praying mantis, but something about their whatever. And afterwards, I was saying to people, I thought, oh, did it? And yet, there wasn't anybody in that room that were like, what is she talking about? And some woman told me about one that always, her husband was dying, took a while with cancer, and there was always this insect, praying mantis, on his shoulder, just to, so we look at things also, and so that meant a lot to her. And I've had, the other week, I had just I have a little group at home, and we just do a meditation, we'll listen to it or whatever. And afterwards, sometimes White Cloud will come through. And the other day, this massive energy came through, and it was Thor. God, I know, Thor of all. I'd never thought about the god of thunder, actually coming through to speak. But at the end of the day, why not? If you see what I mean. And it was very, very, very powerful. And just saying, this power that I come through this is who you are. Just know this type of thing. So there's many sort of unsurprised, when I say unsurprised, many surprising beings. And often I've had beings come through that speak, don't say much, but they smile and they look around and they never say where they're from. And in my mind, if I'm asking, I can't get where they're from because it's not within our realms of language, really, to do it. So yeah, I've had many interesting being pop through for a cup of tea.
Can I ask you as well, just to explain for people who are new to this, the Galactic Federation of Light, the Federation of Light, the Federation, all these different names. Can you explain to people in your own experience, in your own opinion, what is your experience, or who are they? What are they?
Yeah. It's quite an interesting topic, and I did bring it up just recently, actually, because a lot of people put up, if other people put up my channelings on different YouTubes with the computer speaking or whatever it might be, and they put up the Blossom Goodchild channels, the Galactic Federation of Light, and my lot I've asked them about it, and they say they are the overseers of the overseers, which to me would assume they're quite high up. They're overseeing those who are overseeing, whatever that means. But so they say they are the Federation of Light, but they say the Galactic Federation is a huge, huge organization. And that is as far as I know. But they will always say we, the Federation of Light. They never say we, the Galactic Federation of Light. I assume nothing more needs, they want to say no more than that, really, as to the positioning of things. And I don't see them as beings, you know, in any form. If I do need a form, sometimes it's like these white columns of people, of a being type thing, you know, maybe with little, it's difficult to describe, but they're more sort of, because they say we, it's more like speaking to a consciousness as opposed to one soul, one being, you know. Because somebody said the other day in an email, the gentleman that you connect with, and they're obviously thinking Joe is the the Federation. Oh, and a lot of people say, I love your weekly conversations with White Cloud. Well, White Cloud is not the Federation of Light. The federations have said that sometimes they have the honor of being visited by the being known as, who is known to us as White Cloud. So you know, it's so hard to know when it goes higher and higher and higher, really, what goes on, and because it's so different from what we know in this density. So it's, a lot of things are just not easy to explain to us because they can't form the right words, because it's, other realms are so different.
So if we were to ask you your intrepid wisdom, what intrepid wisdom would you have to those who are listening and those who are perhaps understanding all of this channeling for the first time, or understanding everything that's kind of unfolding, you know, currently at the moment?
Yeah, things, something I would always feel about passing on to people is to know that you create your own world. And that took me, in my 20s, I was such a depressed body. You know, I was like, oh, there's the world's gloom and doom, you know, everything. And I used to wonder why my life was so shit. You know, it was just, as it used to, can't pour the bucket on top, let's have some more. Because of the way I thought. And I didn't understand that. And then as I learned more and more about positive thinking, and that what you think you create, literally, and whatever you want, although some newly awakened people wouldn't agree with this, whatever you want, you can manifest it. You know, not being funny, if you saw where I lived in Australia and the beaches I can freely walk on right now, compared to my life 30 years ago in a tiny little place in England, you know, where I had nothing to say. It's like, because I've done it. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical point of view. I'm saying it because that is what you can change. You can change your life no matter what by the way you choose to think. And to know that the way you think, you hang on to it and you hang on to it. But it's not so much, as I'm sure you know, Deborah, but not everybody knows, it's not so much about the thinking of what you want. It is creating the vibration and feeling the vibration of having it that will allow it to come, because it cannot come if the vibration isn't there for it to pop into. So you have to know it is already there for you, and in that knowing, that creates a vibration to bring it to you. I love manifesting. I just go, you know, you just think of one thing, and then the next day, oh my God, somebody's just saying, you don't want this, do you? And you go, however small, big, whatever. Manifesting your desires and creating a world you want, I think, is the most, it's the thing that has helped me in my life more than anything.
And that's actually a podcast I think I'm going to do at some stage. So you're more than welcome to come back and talk about it, because it's definitely, I think it needs to be spoken about now, but also it needs to be more, there's a lot of pop spirituality. I like to call it pop spirituality going on. And there's lots of bubbles I'd like to burst, to just bring people back into reality a bit, just to take them away from the woo-woo that gives the woo-woo a bad reputation. Does that make sense? Like, there's a lot of things in manifesting. There's a lot of ways you can use manifesting, but there's a lot of wrong ideas about it as well. And I'd like to kind of talk about it in a more realistic fashion, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'd be well keen to,
because it's a lovely topic to talk. But look, we could talk all day long, and I could keep talking to you forever.
It's
But
1:10 in the morning for you, isn't it now?
I know, and it's great. I could literally keep going. So you'll have to stop me, or I'll have to stop you, one or the other. But look, while we're talking, how can people find you? If people haven't been to your channel or haven't been onto your website, how can people find you? What's the best way?
If you go to blossomgoodchild.com, that is my website, and on there are all my channelings, all my videos, and what have you. And it's funny when I say for YouTube, my YouTube name is some weird thing composed of 3 of my grandchildren, which I did like 15 years ago when I first had to go on a YouTube, and I didn't know what that was all about. So my stepdaughter sort of did it, and it's still remained. But if you just put Blossom Goodchild YouTube, then the YouTubes will come up, and you can subscribe to those. You can subscribe to my newsletter from my website. And, that literally on my website, Deborah, they've now been put in yearly PDFs. So all the past from, I think there's 12 years of channelings there, and you can now download them into each yearly PDF. And also, like if I can quickly say about the man, when I talk about the team, a man wrote to me about a year ago to say that he'd started going through he was looking to see if something was said by the Federation, if they brought up a topic. And I said, well, pick a year, any year, pick a month, pick a date. I've got no idea. And so many people would ask me that, and I just go, I can't tell you. Yes, they've spoken about it, but I don't know when or where or whatever. So he was looking, and while he started looking through, he decided to start putting things down. So he has now, which is just amazing, from his heart, he has now indexed the whole 12 years of the channelings. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of channelings, and so on my site under the Federation of Light, you can go to topics of interest, and he's got them in, and you can download it. So you've got A to Z of everything they've ever spoken about. Now, to me, I'm like, my God, somebody has done that, and it's helped so much, because people will write in and say, have they ever spoken about such and such? And I'll go to the topics of interest, and there you will find what they've said about it. It is just amazing. So that is really, really helpful, and just it blows my head off that people do this out of the goodness of their heart. But as he said, the gift was his, because reading through all that 12 years, he said, I just transformed type of thing.
Beautiful. That's just stunning. And it's lovely to hear those stories about just people hidden in the background who nobody else would ever know about them. Excuse me. And we just go on, click, and just use away, and we don't realize half the work that really goes into it. So that's lovely to be able to acknowledge all these people. Fab. You also have a gift for people who are listening, if they want to avail.
I do. If they would like to write to me at info@blossomgoodchild.com and say that you've listened to this interview with Deborah, then it's funny, my best friend in England is called Deborah, so Debbie Dews, and and just say that you've listened, and you'd please could I send you the CD, and well, it's an MP3, and what I will send you is an MP3 of 5 10-minute short meditations with white cloud guiding you through them. They're put to music, and so often if you don't have time to meditate, you think, oh, well, I've got 10 minutes now, so you can just quickly put on one of these, and they seem to put you in a good space. So more than happy to gift that to anybody that writes at info@blossomgoodchild.com.
Lovely, fantastic. And I'll put all the links below as well. And for those who are listening, I would love if you head on over to the intrepidwisdom.com website, and you can catch all the links there. You can actually catch the YouTube videos and everything. You can follow, subscribe, like, share, ding the bell, all that jazz. So it's been so good to have you. I could literally talk to you forever. And it's been amazing. And I've just really enjoyed watching all of your videos and following you on your journey. And I'll continue to follow you on your journey as well. So thank you so much.
Deborah, thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed it. And, it's always a pleasure to be able to chew the cud with people of like mind. And, it's just been really nice. And just to say, I believe it's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it?
Oh, it's 26th. Yep.
So have a lovely, lovely birthday.
Thank you so much. You're so good. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Blossom.
All right, Deborah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.